I recently met a young Navy lieutenant named Snyder who'd been blinded by an IED explosion in Afghanistan. He said this, he said, "I am not going to let my blindness build a brick wall around me. I give my eyes 100 times again to have the chance to do what I have done and what I can still do."
One of the first nights that I woke up alone, I didn't have a nurse there watching me. I wake up, I can't see. And when I'm dreaming, I see, and I'm walking around my dreams just fine, and I'm telling everyone I'm fine. And blindness isn't any more difficult because I can see in my dreams. And I dream that I'm blind, but I can still see. And it's this weird duality in your head, and it doesn't really make sense, but you're glad. I'm like, oh, blindness isn't that hard. I can see just fine. And then I wake up, and then everything's dark, and it's a difficult realization, that first moment when you realize I'm blind and I can't see and I may never be able to see.
I look around every day and think of how many things I see that are so beautiful. I was in the other room and I heard him swear, and I came back and I said, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "I can't believe this. It's so horrible to be lost in your own house."
When the doctors came in and told him that he was never going to be able to see again after they had spent many hours in surgery trying to repair his eyes, he had a solemn sigh that lasted for about a minute and then said, "All right, what can I do now?" Early high school, he said, "I want to go to the Naval Academy." He wasn't going to stop until he made that happen. When he got into the Naval Academy, he said, "I want to go EOD." He wasn't going to stop until he made that happen. And then he got hurt, got in a hospital bed. We started talking about options about what he could do with his future, and he said, "I want to go to the Paralympics."
I was smaller than everyone else. I didn't have the advantage of height or an enormous amount of talent. And through the mentorship of my father, we decided that the way that I would succeed in swimming is just by working harder than everyone else.
Bradley Snyder of the USA with 57.18, the fastest qualifier, goes in 4.
It's a very, very big moment. There's so many people, there's so much noise.
Snyder there saying, "I can't hear you."
I was 4 inches away from being dead. And I really wanted that story to come true. A year later, I won a gold medal.
He wasn't doing it for himself. He was doing it to prove to his family and his friends that he was going to be okay.
18,000 screaming fans all of a sudden, in an instant, with a whistle blow, go dead quiet. And you can hear the guy next to you breathing.
Snyder away very, very quick.
That will erase the badness of that day. From now on, we can look at that day as a great day in all of our lives.
Anything he wanted to get done, he was going to get done.
They're all in a line. Lane number 5, Bo Zunyang from China. But now the challenge from Bradley Snyder in 4. Snyder's coming through for the USA. Bradley Snyder into the lead. Into the final stroke, 57.43 for Snyder. He takes it. 4:32.41, faster than this morning. It's a gold medal for him.
Brad took the medal and put it on my neck and said that this was the medal that we had won together for our fight for the last year. So that was it says a lot about what that moment was to all of us.
The national anthem's being played, and you're standing there at attention, and knowing that everyone in the stands right there they're not looking at you, they're looking at that flag. You represented your country well, and you represented that population, and all those people who had a hand in that journey with you are all watching, and they're all sharing that moment together.
One of the most emotional experiences of my entire life.
I've met some of the highest ranked men in the military that I've seen cry listening to Brad speak.
And one boy who had hurt himself swimming in the community, and he said his leg may be shattered and he may never dive again, but look what this guy was doing with no eyes.
I remember as a little kid, I'd climb up to a spot on the playground and jump off and see how that worked. And I dust myself off and said, well, I lived through that one, let's try another higher one. And I remember going to the highest point in the playground and saying, well, let's jump off this and see what happens. And I remember jumping off, and then I fell down and knocked the wind out of me, and I said, okay, well, that's about as high as I can jump off, and then I'll be all right. So, through my whole life, I wouldn't say that I'm fearless. I absolutely have all kinds of fears, but I really am enthralled by the idea that I can push those boundaries and see how far I can go, and I think that's what led me to success.
Distinctly, we were having dinner one night a few days after he'd returned from the Paralympics, and looked up at me, looked through me, and said, "I want a gold medal," you know? And it was an interesting moment because you could just see it settle into his face and his body, the fact that he knew that he had risen above the cards that he was dealt.